So I want to make this one quick today. Basically, I'm just going over what I am now calling interval pumping or rep pumping. So I haven't come up with a good name for it yet. Anyway, before I get into it, like and subscribe, never say that, but I really need to get in the habit of saying that. Patreon for curated content off of my Reddit. Let's see, peak male physique for penis enlargement aids that are not needed but can help. Vigor on Amazon and LeviathanSubs.com. It is one of the best bang for your buck stimulant-free pre-workouts that me and my partner, Doc Hink, formulated. So, might be up your alley. So let's get into it. So in December, I started to look more into how connective tissues adapt and respond to tension or exertion, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, there is a fine group, or there's a range where we'll get optimal deformation of the connective tissue without sufficiently damaging the connective tissue. And that's where we'd see the best gain rate when it comes to penis enlargement. For those uninitiated, the tunica albuginea is the limiting factor for penis size in general, or maximum penis size in general. So what we need to do is make that thing as big as possible. That's why I've been looking at connective tissues and how they heal and how they respond to stress in the body to get a better idea on how to grow the tunica. Therefore, we can grow the penis long term. The research suggests that the more stretches you do, the greater chances you have of collagen failure, and that's what's going to keep it elongated and then release the growth factors needed to cause changes of the size of the connective tissue. In our case, the tunica albuginea, the surrounding tissue of the penis. The more stretches we do, or in our cases, the more pump ups we do, we'll get a better stretch response, therefore more growth factors released, therefore potentially better gains. So that's where it all started. However, there's also other benefits with this method. One is no edema, or minimal edema. Essentially, we're not letting edema build up under the skin. I'm not exactly sure why, but it has to do with making your penis expand rather than letting the skin expand, since you're constantly pulsing the actual chambers of the penis instead of just letting the skin around it fill. Again, I'm not exactly sure why, but maybe in a year or two we'll know. Number two, you don't need to be aroused the entire time. You just need to go in erect to get the best response. Again, I'm not 100% sure on why this is, but from what I'm thinking, it has to do with that. For me, it takes me about 2 minutes to completely lose an erection. Now, that might be atypical. I'm not 100% sure, but I would think that window of pumping up so the tunica doesn't start to contract, or the smooth muscles in your penis do not start to contract, rather. And then that's what's actually giving us the window to overexpand the tunica and the corpus cavernosum mainly. Notice how I said 2 minutes? I'll get more into that in a minute. Number three, this would lead to much better erections outside of the pump on pumping days, because you're not going to be a bloat monster. From what I can tell, the old ways have a higher propensity to cause tissue overwork, and not in the good way. And edema also kind of numbs the nerve, so it makes it harder for you to get to max capacity. It makes the skin tighter, so your skin's going to start working against your erection pressure. It's just not really a good time when you think about it. And then in the mornings after, a lot of people so far have reported really good erection quality the next day. And again, I'm not 100% sure why. This is relatively new to me. Number four, it looks like it takes less time to get to the desired 104 to 106% overexpansion without edema with this method. Again, not really sure why. I think it's just because you have more opportunities to stretch the tunica, therefore it becomes more efficient working it. But in my case, for me to get the extra 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch I need to get into target range, it only takes me about 20 to 30 minutes. When I was pumping originally, like with the old methods, it would take me anywhere from 40 minutes to 60 minutes. So this seems to be much more effective without edema and without a drop in erection quality. So I see this as an absolute win. So let me explain to you what you're gonna do. And it's really simple. So in the gym, you know how we have reps and sets. Every rep for this kind of pumping is going to be 2 minutes under pressure. So you'll put your erect penis in. I am not going to demonstrate live. I apologize. So you put your erect penis in your pump. You will pump up until you feel a slight discomfort. You're going to hold that for 2 minutes. You will immediately release pressure and then immediately pump back up till you feel the slight discomfort. Repeat those 2-minute reps for up to 10 minutes. Once you hit 10 minutes, you have to take a break so that way you do not have any discoloration build up under the skin and you can get fresh blood into the penis, therefore limiting any negative hypoxic effects commonly found with longer sessions with pumping. The total amount of time really matters on how the total amount of time you do this is really dependent on your experience with this. If you're a new guy, you only need about 10 to 15 minutes of total time under pressure. So that would be 5 2-minute reps up to 7 2-minute reps. So intermediate guys are only going to really need 20 to 30 minutes. Then for advanced users, personally, I have not gone above 30 minutes. I have not needed to, but I am also coming back from a break, so I am a little bit not advanced technically. But for you guys, you're probably going about 45 minutes. So let's see, that would be 20 reps of 2 minutes under pressure. So 40 minutes total. And then you need to take at least 3 to 4 breaks to get there. So the signs to know that if you did it right is first, minimal edema. So as long as you don't start getting a blob monster, you're probably on the right path. 2, it is going to be ridiculously hot. So compared to your normal skin temperature, because it's just going to be a lot of blood right at the surface instead of a lot of water right under your skin. So for me, it literally felt like my dick had a fever. Let's see. And then, like I talked about, you'll have insane erection quality the next day, a lot of guys reported. Again, that's more case dependent on your own erection quality to begin with. And then I've noticed it had a little bit more staying power, this inflammation or expansion, whatever you really want to call it. So you'll have more of a fuller flaccid that'll look natural. That's the most important thing, is that your penis will look naturally thick after doing this. Now, it won't stay this thick. It's going to take months to get it to as thick as it looks outside of the pump, but that's part of the process. It's just constant improvement. So, and on the point of pump up to slight discomfort, for beginners, that's going to be about 4 to 6 Hg. For intermediates, it's probably going to be about 6 to 8 Hg. And then advanced guys is going to be anywhere from 7 to 10 Hg. I don't recommend going over 12 Hg. Anything over 10 is really going to just start giving you edema, in my experience. And that's what we're trying to avoid. To track, this is another great thing about this. This is going to end up being a longer video. So since we've broken down the pumping into reps, we can easily progressively overload. So what I recommend you do to make sure you're in the gain window outside of the first 4 months, because it's going to be weird. Your erection quality is going to be gaining like crazy. And the newbie gains are going to conflict with these findings. But I would like you to measure your mid-shaft girth before you go into the pump. Then afterwards, after your session rather, measure your mid-shaft girth. It needs to be 104 to 108% larger. Ideally, you want it to be closer to 108 than 104 because edema is still going to build up a little bit. But that's what we're going to use to determine if you need more work or actually less work. If you are over 100% expansion, you need to either work on your form or B, use less reps, because that's going to lead to chronic overwork over time, and that's not going to give you the gains you want. If you are under 104%, just add a couple reps. So let's say you were pumping for 5 reps, so 10 minutes total. Take the break, split it in 2, so you'll do 3 sets, you'll do 3 reps of 2 minutes, so 6 minutes there. Take a break, and then do the next 3 reps afterwards. and then you should be in your expansion window. Makes sense. So ideally, you'll be adding a rep to 2 reps every 2 to 3 weeks. In my experience, I have not had to add a rep yet, but again, I'm still getting back into the swing of things. Your results may vary, but I think that covers it. Again, the routine is relatively simple, and again, another caveat is I don't know how this works into tunica malleability. I'm assuming tunica malleability will speed this up even more, so keep that in mind. What I've really been doing is doing interval hanging, which I've need to do a video on, I guess, and then pumping, this kind of pumping, rep pumping, interval pumping, whatever you want to call it, on the same day. And I've been very stretchy because of this. And so what I am focusing on is getting these collagen fibrils to fail. So that means they will stay elongated afterwards, meaning that the tissue is technically more flexible and it's going to stay elongated. That's why I don't think healing in elongated state matters, because if you did the sufficient amount of work, those tissues will be fatigued enough to stay elongated. Okay, so hopefully this unscripted video came off across well. I will find out in post. Leviathan Wellness on Amazon and leviathansubs.com. Then Peak Male Physiques for penis enlargement aids that are not needed but can help. Patreon for curated content. And no, you guys aren't ready for that. This is BD signing off.